Hey folks, Russell here, coming from the shop. Want to do a quick update on the CJ7. We are past year 6 since we bought this, and I still haven't driven it but once to get it here. Where we stand right now is we're working, getting the wiring completed, as well as dealing with some issues with the aftermarket windshield frame, which I talked about in a previous video, I think over here. Yeah, so anyway, where we're at, the wiring harness, Painless Wiring Harness Kit. I don't know the part number off the top of my head, but it is the complete direct replacement wiring kit. So far I'm very pleased with it. So as you can see, we've got our dash ready to go with our aftermarket gauges and of course our original switches and such. It's ready to lay up. We started routing the wiring. It's loomed up pretty nice and labeled very nice. Every major component item like headlight switch is marked headlight switch. That's marked for the clock. And then you come down into some of these wires. Every individual wire, if it's not like, you know, that says wiper switch, and then each individual wire, it's a little small to read, but it'll say what it's for specifically, especially some of the stuff in the engine bay, like for the oil pressure or the water temp. The wire itself is labeled what it's for. I'm very pleased with this kit so far. It's going in pretty nice. It is essentially a 3-piece wire harness. So you have the fuse block panel that bolts to the firewall, the engine side firewall panel that bolts up with its corresponding harness, and then there's a separate plug harness that plugs in under here and routes back the driver's side of the vehicle to give you your tail lights, your fuel level sending unit, that stuff. Very pleased with the Painless kit. It is a true plug and play. There's some minor things you have to do, like you have to rebuild the wiper switch connector for the switch to get the wiring right. And of course we did all this and then tested it on the motor, because all you have to do is ground the motor and apply power to the red side, and you can test your wiper motors, which we did to confirm that we had no binding. Of course, that takes us to the, you know, the windshield don't want to fit right because there's extra metal, and I talked about that in a previous video. So overall, coming along pretty well. Hopefully within the next month we'll have it done. God willing and the creek don't rise. It's just time. I get tired of being in the shop by myself, and I don't want to do things when I'm by myself sometimes, so I choose to go home and eat pizza and drink beer instead of work on my Jeep, and that's my own fault. Part of my issue is just, it's been 6 years. We bought it 6 years ago, and remembering how things go. The Painless wiring harness kit, can't say enough about it. It is very straightforward, very detailed instructions on how to do it. There is some modifications I've got to do to the kit because we've got some aftermarket gauges. They address that in their instructions. So yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we've been doing the last couple of days, is laying this wiring harness out. I'm taking my time with it, a little bit here or there. And the other main thing we're doing is obviously getting that windshield trimmed down to fit, the windshield frame trimmed down to fit, and getting it installed. And I talked about it in the previous video up here about the differences in the aftermarket windshield frames and the original windshield frames. Aftermarket parts some are good, some are questionable, some are just suck. I've been lucky with the stuff I got. part of it is I did my due diligence research and talked to people. So, but that's where we're at in a nutshell, is our painless wiring. Like I said, I mean, it's each individual wire is labeled what it's for. It's genius. I mean, they've got the big label, that's for the oil gauge, and then each individual wire what it's supposed to go to. Obviously, that's for the light, which I'm not using because I have aftermarket gauges and a ground. So, very slick kit, very thick instruction manual. Obviously, the part number I've got is 1015 or 10150. And it is very in-depth. It's like, 120 plus pages, all color. It's also available as PDF form off the Painless website should you happen to lose your instructions. Very detailed. Can't say enough about the Painless kit. So obviously we've got to finish routing our wiring, plugging everything up, get the dash mounted up, get the dash pad on. So order of work is going to be get the dash up, plug everything in, bolt the dash up, the dash pad goes on, and then the windshield can come up. Once that's done, we set the windshield length. I don't remember the exact length. It's like 78¼ inch or something from the top of the windshield to the back of the vehicle. Get that set, and then it'll be tow the vehicle over, get the muffler, the exhaust system put in, get it towed back, and then we can test run the motor. Obviously break in a motor with a new camshaft at 2,000 RPM for 20 minutes or some bullshit like that. So I don't want to do that with open headers and no oxygen sensor plugged into the system. So have to go to the muffler shop first. Once that's all done and it's broken in, we'll get the soft top installed and everything. I can start driving it. Initially, the stereo is going to go in. We'll just use the 2 speakers in the dash while I sort everything, and then we'll worry about mounting the amps and getting the subwoofer hooked up and all that kind of stuff. So coming along slowly. We'll get it done here shortly. I want to be driving it this summer. I want to be driving it before the end of spring, honestly. So it's time to get hopping on this thing. And once again, if you like this content, go ahead and like it, subscribe, hit that bell icon for future notifications. And as always, there's more to follow.